the record and the reputation of being right. More than anyone else who has ever lived in the history of the world. And I don't do it because I'm a psychic. I don't do it because God talks to me. I don't do it because I have tarot cards, or I read your fortune, or I look at your palm, or read the bumps on your head. I do it because I study history. I research everything that happens. I have seen the same thing happen to people who have done these kinds of things throughout the history of the human race. Many of them are described in the Bible. Read it. You might learn something. You might also be deceived. If you want to be a Christian, read the words of Christ. Don't listen to your pastor, your preacher, your bishop, your church. Read the words of Christ and follow them. If you want to be a Muslim, read the writings of the Quran and follow them. If you want to be a Jew, read the book of the Torah and stop listening to the rabbis. Get my drift? If you want to be a follower of Buddha, follow the way of life that he taught. Do not try to make him a god.
Tonight, folks, I come to you with a heavy heart. For another one, actually two of my predictions. One has come true, one is about to come true. The one that has come true involved the loss of life and the injury of over 500 people. And of course, I'm talking about the bombing of the World Trade Center in New York City. As far back as 1989 and ever since, I've been predicting major terrorist attacks upon the United States. The primary number one target, New York City. I've said it so many times, and so many people attending my lectures, listening to my broadcast, and who have read my book are familiar with it. I never enjoy being right when it involves the loss of life and human injury. Nevertheless, it is another chalk mark on the board, and I remain the most accurate predictor of future world events in the history of the world. The one that is about to come true and has not yet is the prediction that I made that the United States would send troops to Yugoslavia. And it appears that that is going to happen in the very near future. Anyway, we will see, won't we? As we move into the new world order, and all of these events are planned to take us directly into one world totalitarian socialist government. To all those people in the city of New York who lost relatives, or who had friends or relatives that were injured, I offer you my deepest compassion, sympathy, and I wish that I could tell you that that was the end of it, but I can tell you that it is only the beginning. Unless people wake up, it will escalate.
And now we're being bombarded with messages that Osama bin Laden is planning to attack the United States of America and Israel. And I'm telling you, be prepared for a major attack. But it won't be Osama bin Laden. It will be those behind the New World Order who once again want to take the guns and the freedom away from the American people, because we're the only ones left in the world who can oppose the destruction of freedom in the world and the implementation of a one-world totalitarian socialist government, and that is the goal. Now, how stupid can you be? You see, because the largest intelligence apparatus in the world, with the biggest budget in the history of the world, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years, and can't find him. The FBI also, under the leadership of Louis Freeh, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years and years and years and many years, and can't find him. Some doofus, jerk-off reporter with a camera crew waltzes right into his hideout and interviews him. And you know what his budget is? Zip, zilch, nothing. Now, that tells us two things. Either everyone in the intelligence community and all of the intelligence agencies of the United States government are blithering idiots and incompetent fools, including the entire apparatus of the FBI and all of their personnel, or they're lying to us. They're not looking for him at all. And the second is the truth. You see, the CIA created Osama bin Laden. They recruited him. They trained him. They found his leadership. They brought them all together. They showed them how to fight the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, and when that was over, they still continued to fund him and train him, and they're now using him to help bring about world government by making him the big boogeyman. A reporter from CNN and his little camera crew got in to Osama bin Laden's secret hideout and conducted an interview. If you don't believe me, tune into CNN. They're probably running it right now as I'm speaking. And if you believe it, you are one of the stupidest jerks that ever lived on the face of this earth. And whatever is going to happen that they're going to blame on Osama bin Laden, don't you even believe it. Another social engineering project to change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people of the world, and especially the United States, to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government. Can you believe what they were saying for a while? That Timothy McVeigh, the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the Defense Intelligence Agency, could not find Osama bin Laden in their wildest dreams. But Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols could, and recruit him to be their partner in blowing up the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Bullshit! How stupid can you be? These guys didn't have a nickel between them. Not a nickel between them. How dumb can you be? How stupid can you be? Put me in charge of the CIA. I guarantee you I will have him in custody in 2 weeks flat. Or dead. Take your pick. Take your pick. Give me that budget, those resources, those personnel. I guarantee you he will be mine in 2 weeks. And you know what? If I had a few loyal, good Americans who were willing to donate enough money, certainly not even a drop in the bucket compared to what they really have in these intelligence agencies to really go after him, I could still have him in 2 weeks. Piece of cake. So why do all these fools believe this charade? That a CNN reporter and his little camera crew can do what all the money and all the assets and all the eavesdropping and all the intelligence and all the satellites and all the undercover operatives in the world can never do. It's because they're not trying. They don't want to. Osama bin Laden is their creation, and he is serving them well. When in hell are all you people going to wake up? Are you kidding me? I mean, is this some kind of incredible joke that people are so stupid they'll fall for this? Do you know how much money the CIA and the National Security Agency and the FBI has at its disposal each year? Do you know how many agents they have that they can devote to this? Do you realize the technology that they have to be able to eavesdrop on every single conversation in the world, no matter how it's transmitted, and pinpoint the location of every one of those transmissions? And they can't find Osama bin Laden, but some CNN reporter He just waltzes right on in there with his camera crew, just like he knew where they were all the time. Bet you it was the CIA that sent him there. I told him where he was. And of course they know where he is because they created him. They're the ones that are funding him and backing him and helping him to create their new utopian world. Hitler could not have ever come to power, absolute power in Germany, without the Reichstag fire. Hitler was a socialist. He understood social illusion. He understood social engineering. He knew how to get the support of the German people, and he did it by burning down the Reichstag. And I'm telling you, one of the things that will give us the moral high ground and will begin civil war is the day that they begin declaring martial law across this country, taking guns out of the hands of the American people and rounding up American patriots. The war will start on that day. On that day. And there will be a war in this country, a civil war to restore, not a revolution, but a civil war to restore constitutional Republican government. Now, at the same time that that's going on, communist and Marxist underground forces will begin, or try to begin, a revolution in order to institute a Marxist, socialist, or communist government as a result of the Civil War. And supposedly, we're not the only nation searching for Osama bin Laden. So the vast economic resources, the vast technological resources, the vast personnel resources, the vast networks and intricate web spun over all these years by the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA can't find Osama bin Laden, but CNN can? Bullshit.
And I'm telling you, the next one, the next huge, tremendous terrorist attack will be an atomic weapon in one of our major cities. Take it to the bank. It's worth its weight in gold, and it's absolutely the truth. In fact,
that George Bush Sr. is the guy that ought to be indicted because he's the one that's precipitated all of this.
Well, he didn't precipitate all of it, but he had his hand in it, and he is guilty, absolutely, yes.
Along with a lot more of them.
Yes, that's true.
I wonder if that boy of his is not thinking that he's gotten himself into the middle of hell's furnace here with all this crap.
Well, I wish he'd sit back and think about it, but I think he's going to be furthering the interest of the cabal to which he belongs that's helping to bring about world government. He's already reneged on
a change of heart.
He's already reneged on all his campaign promises. He's for globalism. He's for breaking down the borders between the United States and Mexico and the United States and Canada. And there's only one goal for that, and that's to cement Region 1 of the New World Order.
Yes.
That's to do it. So if you think George Bush Jr. is on your side, you better think again. He doesn't give a damn about you or me.
Yeah.
He has a goal, an agenda, and he's going to further that goal. And remember when he was elected, I told you that there will be war in the Middle East, major war. Didn't I?
Yes.
Was I right again?
Yes.
Yep, and I also told you that that terrorist event was going to happen, didn't I?
Yes.
Yep. Was I right again?
Yes.
Yep. And I'm telling you right now, if we don't get a handle on this and stop all this crap, an atomic weapon will be detonated in one of our major cities, and I will be right again.
I'm aware that there's still some who would question or even justify the offense of 9/11. But let us be clear. Al-Qaeda killed nearly 3,000 people on that day. The victims were innocent men, women, and children from America and many other nations who had done nothing to harm anybody. And yet Al-Qaeda chose to ruthlessly murder these people, claimed credit for the attack, and even now states their determination to kill on a massive scale. They have affiliates in many countries and are trying to expand their reach. These are not opinions to be debated. These are facts to be dealt with. These are not opinions to be debated. These are facts to be dealt with.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September the 11th. Malicious lies that attempt to shift the blame away from the terrorists themselves, away from the guilty.
You see, our purpose is to bring out facts and principles which have a bearing upon coming events. For those of you who may not realize it, this is not a religious show. This is not a religious show. This is a show that is designed to educate, illuminate, if you will, and that's very ironic because we are illuminating those who call themselves illumined, who have been causing us misery for thousands of years. We're trying to reveal the hidden agenda behind the New World Order, and along with it, the ecumenical movement that almost no one dares to discuss, which is a part of the bringing about of the New World Order. But you see, folks, these issues must be freely discussed, no matter who you are or what you believe. For those who know history know that history repeats, and those who ignore the lessons of history are doomed to repeat the history. As Winston Churchill once observed, folks, the farther backward you can look, the farther forward you can see. And that is really the secret why my predictions have been so accurate that at this moment I am the most successful and accurate prophet on the face of this earth. But I'm not really a prophet, I'm a messenger. And they're not prophecy that I give you, they're predictions based upon actual study, research of history, and of the plan of those who call themselves the guardians of the secrets of the ages, the practicers of that religion called Mystery Babylon. And it is real, and it doesn't matter if you believe in any of this or not. If the practitioners believe it, it will affect you, especially if they hold powerful positions in the world. And I can assure you that they do. So this is not a religious program, folks. It just happens to be true that the New World Order is founded upon the religious history of the past. And it is all about religion, as you will soon see.
I want you to pay close attention, and I want you to understand that I don't necessarily subscribe to everything that you're going to hear tonight as my personal beliefs. I'm just going to tell you the message in the Lion King. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. But the people who are bringing about the New World Order believe it, I can assure you. The opposing forces engaged in this battle all agree that they will have a one-world government. The only point of contention is which one of these opposing forces will sit upon the throne of the world. One believes that they are protecting and will hold forth a king, descended from the house of David and thus related directly by blood to Jesus Christ. He will hold the titles of the King of Jerusalem and Holy Roman Emperor.
He will be a direct descendant of the Merovingian bloodline of the kings of France. One of the others is to believe to be the direct bloodline descendants of Cain. And they plan to seat their king upon the throne of the world. And then, of course, there is the Vatican, which I guarantee you will be one or the other of the first two when all the dust has settled.
This compromise between paganism and Christianity resulted in the development of the man of sin foretold in prophecy as opposing and exalting himself above God. The Apostle Paul, in his second letter to the Thessalonians, foretold the great apostasy. Quote, "That day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Unquote. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. And that prophecy has come true. As man stands in the temple of the body today and declares himself to be God. And furthermore, the apostle warned his brethren that the mystery of iniquity doth already work. And what is the mystery of iniquity? It is the mystery religion of Babylon, the worship of the heavens, the Osirian cycle, of which the sun is the symbol of the intellect. Even at that early date, he saw creeping into the church errors that would prepare the way for the development of that gigantic system of false religion, a masterpiece of Satan's power, a monument of his efforts to seat himself upon the throne and rule the earth according to his will. The nominal conversion of the Roman Emperor Constantine in the early part of the 4th century caused great rejoicing, and the world, cloaked with a form of righteousness, walked into the church. Paganism, while appearing to be vanquished, became the conqueror. Pagan doctrines, ceremonies, and superstitions were incorporated into the faith and worship of the professed followers of Christ. And the 10 Commandments were changed to permit idols in the church. And other changes were made. You see, the day of rest was changed from the 7th day to the 1st day. Why? Because the 1st day was the date that the pagan religion worshipped the sun, Osiris, the light, Lucifer, the intellect. And so the pure and simple teachings of Christ were corrupted beyond recognition. As Christians consented to lower their standards, a union was formed between Christianity and paganism. Though the worshippers of idols professed to be converted, they united with the church, still clinging to their idolatry, only changing the objects of their worship to images of Jesus and even of Mary and the saints. But they still worshipped the same gods. And they always have. If you look at an aerial view of the Vatican, you will see that the outer courtyard is a round temple of the sun, exactly as the Druids and the Celts built, and that in the center of this temple to the sun, to Osiris, stands the symbol of the lost word of Freemasonry, the phallus, the generative force, the penis of Osiris, the obelisk. You see, folks, the Roman Empire never fell. It just became the Catholic Church. And the Roman Emperor merely changed his name from Emperor to Pope. Full absolution was offered to any pilgrim who would come to Rome for 15 days with his offering for the church, and thus he could fill his coffers. Even at his most optimistic, the Pope had not foreseen the flood of pilgrims that would bring new prosperity to Rome. The local merchants and innkeepers were delighted with the business generated by almost 2 million pilgrims. 2 priests stood all day and night behind the altar at the Church of St. Paul, using rakes to drag away the steady stream of gold and silver offerings placed there by pilgrims who pushed their way through the mob to leave their gifts. Boniface VIII was ecstatic. He remembered the words said to him as the papal crown had been placed on his head. Quote, "Take the tiara and know that thou art the father of princes and kings, the ruler of the world, the vicar on earth of our Savior Jesus Christ." Unquote. Now he indeed felt like the ruler of the world as he staged a regal pageant. He put on the dress and the insignia of the ancient Roman emperors and went out into the streets with 2 swords held high in front of him, indicating his supreme authority over both the secular and the spiritual worlds, with heralds crying out, quote, "Behold, I am Caesar," unquote. And this is just one example, because all through history the popes have, on occasion, made public admittance of the fact that Rome just became the church. Displayed on the walls of the Vatican is the double-headed eagle, the insignia of only one man who has ever lived, the Emperor of Rome. Faith was transferred from Christ, the true foundation of the Christian church, to the Pope of Rome. Instead of trusting in Christ for forgiveness of sins and for eternal salvation, people looked to the Pope and to the priests and prelates to whom he delegated authority. They were taught that the Pope was their earthly mediator, and that none could approach God except through him, and further, that he stood in the place of God to them, and was therefore to be implicitly obeyed. A deviation from his requirements was cause for the severest punishment to be visited upon the bodies and souls of the offenders. Through this error the people were turned from God to fallible, erring men. Blasphemous titles claimed for the Pope have been embellished and enlarged over the centuries, but a few of these boastful claims appear in an ecclesiastical Roman Catholic dictionary. I'm taking this right out of a Roman Catholic dictionary by Lucius Ferraris, entitled Prompta Bibliotheca Canonica, Volume 6, pages 438, 442, article Pope, the Catholic Encyclopedia 1913 edition. Volume 6, page 48, speaks of this book as a veritable encyclopedia of religious knowledge and a precious mine of information. Those are the words of the Vatican. Quote, "The Pope is of so great dignity and so exalted that he is not a mere man, but as it were God and the vicar of God." Unquote. Remember, the Roman emperors were deified. Quote, "Hence the Pope is crowned with a triple crown as King of heaven and of earth and of the lower regions." Unquote. That is an exact word-for-word description of Osiris. Quote, "So that if it were possible that the angels might err in the faith or might think contrary to the faith, they could be judged and excommunicated by the Pope." Unquote. Quote, "The Pope is, as it were, God on earth, sole sovereign of the faithful of Christ, chief King of kings, having plenitude of power, to whom has been entrusted by the omnipotent God direction, not only of the earthly but also of the heavenly kingdom." Unquote. If that's not blasphemy according to the definition, then I don't know what is, folks. Quote, "The Pope can modify divine law, and since his power is not of man but of God." Unquote. The Pope can modify divine law? Well, you see that he did. He changed the day of rest, dictated by God, from the 7th day to the 1st day, and he changed the 10 Commandments to allow the worship of idols. Some of the Catholic popes in the past have commented on the major changes coming in the future. One such pope was Pope Pius XI, who wrote the following in 1937. Communism has behind it occult forces for which a long time have been working for the overthrow of the Christian social order, unquote. One of the popes who preceded him, Pope Pius IX, wrote this in November 1846 about the changes that he saw in the future. Quote, "That infamous doctrine of so-called communism is absolutely contrary to the natural law itself, and if once adopted, would utterly destroy the rights, property, and possessions of all men, and even society itself," unquote. Now, don't get all worked up about what the Pope says, because they have succeeded now with this Pope in putting one of their own upon the throne of the Vatican. It had long been their dream, and now it is true. And the bans have been lifted against Catholics joining secret societies. And many of the hierarchy of the Vatican belong to the secret societies, the Freemasons, Propaganda 2, etc., etc., etc. You will find an obelisk, the symbol of the phallus, the penis of Osiris, in the Vatican courtyard. If you don't believe me, go look.
The Holy Grail in the mysteries has nothing to do with the cup that Jesus drank out of at the Last Supper. The Holy Grail in the mysteries, in fact, represents the bloodline of the house of David. Those believed by the mysteries to have the divine right to rule. I've said this many, many times before. I will say it again. Whoever rules the world in the New World Order, will they claim to the ancestry of the house of David? All throughout the history of all the religions, there is the rock that was present at the foundation of the world. Upon this rock I build my church. Under the throne of the Queen of England there is a rock. And until you understand it and stop being manipulated by it, you will always be one of the innocent victims in this battle. For you are not part of the power structure, and you are of no consequence to any of these people on either side. They care not whether you live or die or what your suffering is. They only care that they mount the throne of power, that they destroy all existing nations, all existing religions, and create a one-world totalitarian socialist government which they will rule. To you it is known as the beast. The number of the beast is 666, which represents all those initiates who have gone through the 3 degrees and 6 acts. The 3 degrees of the mysteries, the mystery religion of Babylon. The wars between the Vatican, between Scarlet, and between the beast. And they all agree that there will be a one-world government. The only point of contention is who will sit upon the throne of the world. If you want to play their game and buy into their deceptions and help them achieve this, you will always be their slave, no matter what side you are on and no matter who is the victor. And you will make their shoes, and you will plow their fields, and you will play their football games for their amusement. And you will keep your mouth shut on certain subjects, and you will do as you are told. Or you will just very simply, ladies and gentlemen, cease to exist. The brainwashing of your children has been going on for quite some time, right under your nose, and you don't even know it. And it's about time you learned it, and it's about time you do something about it. And understand this, the brainwashing is strong. It is strong. And it plays on the emotions. And it feels good. It is such a great deception that even the elect shall be deceived. Don't fall for it. And they form a union. They come together. Of course, the little Jewish lemur represents the Kabbalah influence on the mysteries. The young lion king represents the full body of initiates. He is the child Horus. And the warthog represents all those who do not feel any allegiance or loyalty to any other body, who have joined this union, hoping that in the end they will be vindicated and will have their place in the sun. In the sun. And they wander about in the wilderness, seeking the promised land. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is really something. And of course, they are persecuted and attacked. And the young lion fights off the attackers and protects the other two. This traditionally has been the kingdom of England, Great Britain, which is represented by a lion. This outcast trio represents British Israelism. The Queen of England is called by the mysteries the Queen of Babylon, and it's about time you knew that also. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, none of this British Israelism stuff ever surfaced in the entire history of the world until King Henry VIII wanted to divorce his wife and found out that the Pope would not let him. So King Henry VIII divorced all of England and himself from the Catholic Church, from the Pope, founded the Anglican Church, and then it became necessary to justify his actions to the world, to the English people in specific, and to be able to make it stick. Somewhere down the line, the Royal House of England invented a family tree connecting them directly by descendants to the Royal House of David, and thus to the Old Testament, the lineage of the divine right to rule, or so they claim. Because if you've studied the history of the Middle East, you know that the state of Israel was not that ruled, ladies and gentlemen, by the house of David. The house of David was of the tribe of Judah. The house of David and the tribe of Judah warred against and conquered the state of Israel. That's the true history of the region. Yet these people claim that they have the divine right to rule, and they are superior race to all of the people because they are descended from the house of David and the original Hebrew race from the state of Israel, the ancient country of Israel, which wasn't a country that encompassed all of the 10 tribes of Israel. There were several small countries, the most powerful of which emerged as the tribe and the country of Judah and conquered all the rest under the house of David. Don't believe it? Look it up. The common man has never been told the truth throughout the history of the world, except by a very few people. And when those very few people told the common man the truth, they generally did not ever believe them, choosing instead to believe the lies. I find it absolutely amazing, for the truth, elusive though it may be, can be found by anyone who wants to take the time to look for it. King George VI had had his genealogical chart traced back to King David, and he educated his daughters in British Israelism, including his heir,
Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Now, who you going to believe, folks? For I tell you that everyone who believes in this scam of British Israelism or Christian identity is, in effect and in reality, calling Jesus Christ a liar. If you don't believe that, listen to their version of the world's history, and then go read the words in red in your Bible. Jesus said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." He didn't say, "Suffer the little white children to come unto me." He did not say, "Suffer the little Anglo-Saxon Aryan children to come unto me." He did not say, "Suffer the little black children to come unto me," or the little red children, or the little yellow children. He said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." He said, "Whosoever believeth in me shall have everlasting life." He said a lot of other things, ladies and gentlemen, all that say the same thing, that he was, if you're a Christian, and you must believe this if you're a Christian, he was the salvation of all humanity. He was the end of all pain and suffering. He was the standard around which all people, rich and poor, sick, healthy, lame, black, white, yellow, red, purple, green, I don't care, to end all of the wars and bring about God's kingdom on this earth. Anybody who tells you anything different from that is calling Jesus Christ a liar. If you don't believe me, you read his own words in red in the Holy Bible. If you don't believe in Christianity, or even in any other religion, the answer to the problems of the world is not the Mormon Church. It is not the Southern Baptist Church. It is not the Seventh-day Adventists. It is not the Presbyterians. It is not British Israelism. It is not atheism. It is simply to follow the teachings and the admonishments of the greatest men who have ever lived upon the face of this earth, one of which was Jesus Christ, who told us the truth, and we haven't listened yet. And even though we have his words at our disposal, within arm's reach in almost every home or in every library throughout the world, people still go and listen to these lies and believe them. Go back and read that Jesus Christ contradicted every single thing that these people are teaching you, and you still don't understand it. Can't get it through your head. He said, "Wheresoever you shall gather in my name, there shall I be also." He did not say, "Wheresoever you who are Anglo-Saxon Aryan gather in my name, there I will be also." Or there shall I be also. He didn't say that. He didn't put black in there. He didn't put yellow in there. He didn't put red in there. All of these people are using you. They're lying to you. Once again, they're deceiving you and manipulating you into hating each other and accomplishing the exact opposite of what Jesus Christ set out to accomplish. And so if you call yourself a Christian, you must reject these things, but you must not believe me just because I say it. You go to your Bible, and don't you dare read any other word except those printed in red. Or if you're a Christian, those are the only ones that matter. No other word in that entire Bible matters save those words.
Foremost among those who were called to lead the church from the darkness of popery into the light of a purer faith stood Martin Luther. And this is what people believe, but Martin Luther himself was an initiate of the mystery schools, a follower of the faith of Mystery Babylon, as was the Pope and the hierarchy of the Catholic Church. You see, but they were vying for rulership of the world, and up until not too long ago, have always been throughout history. For the Vatican practices the corrupted worship of Mystery Babylon, the combination of Christianity and the worship of Mystery Babylon, whereas the mystery schools retain the pure form of Mystery Babylon. And this is the only difference between the two, folks, and they have been vying throughout history for the rulership of the world. Mystery Babylon attempting to destroy the Pope and Christianity, and the Pope attempting to persecute and burn away the followers, the initiates of Mystery Babylon. And it has always been the goal of the worshippers of Mystery Babylon to seat one of their own upon the throne of the Vatican. And they have succeeded. They have succeeded, folks, and now you are seeing the beginning of the combination of all religions into one world religion. And while the world and the New Age movement may be waiting for the emergence of Maitreya, I tell you now here, and remember that I have been the most accurate in making predictions about future world events than anyone in the history of the world, based upon study and knowledge, not psychic ability, not any gift given to me from God, although I am a messenger, I can assure you of that. I tell you that in the New World Order, the one world, charismatic, and religious leader will be seated upon the throne of Rome. Mark my words. And for those of you who do not understand yet, the Protestant religion was created by the mystery schools to bring down the authority of the Pope. Just as this nation, the United States of America, was created by the mystery schools to topple the monarchs, the kings and queens, from their thrones. You see, whatever you want to believe in, folks, is okay with me. Let's just believe from a position of knowing the truth.